So when we started this product, our focus and mission was really around leave no trace. But then as we, started talking to more people, especially women, it really became evident to us that there was not a lot of discussion around menstruating in the outdoors, and there was not a lot of openness or even education, because we don't really know why. Maybe people, it's the stigma, people are uncomfortable talking about it. So that's also like now become our dual mission, is through education and talking about it, just trying to normalize the conversation, get people to feel comfortable, educate people, and really empower people that menstruate to feel comfortable and not having it a barrier.
Hello and welcome back to the Outdoor Minimalist podcast. I'm your host, Meg Carney, and I'm an outdoor and environmental writer and author of the book, Outdoor Minimalist, Waste Less Hiking, Camping, and Backpacking. The Outdoor Minimalist podcast has the goal to give listeners actionable ways to waste less hiking, camping, backpacking, and more during every step of their process. Your impact outdoors starts long before you hit the trail and goes beyond leave no trace ethics. You'll learn how to identify sustainable outdoor brands, how to ask hard questions regarding sustainability, and begin to shift and evolve your mindset to integrate minimalism into all of your outdoor pursuits. In episode 144 of the Outdoor Minimalist podcast, we are returning to the ever-popular topic of personal hygiene on the trail. One of our most popular episodes still to this day is episode 17, Pee Rags, Menstrual Cups, and More, with the menstrual cycle queen herself, Angie Marie. Well, in this episode, we're building on our backcountry hygiene knowledge, but with a focus on how we manage our waste, including our disposable feminine hygiene products. Dani and Becca are a mother-daughter duo, lucky enough to have Vermont as their outdoor playground. Their desire to keep trails clean and limit any barriers keeping anyone from enjoying the outdoors is what inspired the Your Yuckies brand and their continued advocacy. So thank you for joining me on the Outdoor Minimalist podcast today. I am excited to return to one of our most popular topics of menses in the outdoors. So before we get into that, I would love if you both, for the listeners, since there's two of you, could introduce yourselves and then also maybe explain a little bit about how you got into outdoor recreation and how it fits into your life now.
So I'm Becca.
I'm Dani.
And we are a mother-daughter duo who have gone into business together with a brand and a product for the outdoor space.
Yeah, and we're from the Vermont area, and we really, I guess growing up, being in Vermont is pretty much like being in an outdoor playground. So we've spent a lot of time outdoors, and I had 3 kids, and they're very, very active children. So the outdoor space was the best place for them to burn off steam. So they really grew up, especially during the summers. Vermont is so much fun, and they spent a lot of time outdoors from, early sunrise to sunset. And I think that really, caused them to really just continue this love of the outdoors.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't even realize it wasn't normal doing outdoor activities until I left the area. So I'm super grateful that I had my mom pushing us and dragging us outside every day.
That's awesome. And I love that you've been able to create this family business together. So I'm sure that much of the inspiration for Your Yuckies came from experiences in the outdoors. So for listeners that don't know, do you mind explaining what it is? And then also kind of the backstory, like what encouraged you to create this product?
Yeah, so it actually kind of came from a personal need. It was during the pandemic, and my mom and I were section hiking the Appalachian Trail, the AT, and the weather wasn't too good, and I had to do a bio break and change my tampon, and it was pouring rain, and I was taking my pack out. I was soaked and I could not find my tampon. And of course, it ended up being at the bottom of my bag, and I had to take all my stuff out. Everything was getting wet. My clean socks, which I am so weird about trying to always have a dry pair. And so after I did my bio break, I was super frustrated. I was like, Mom, how can there not be anything or like to help me organize my clean and my dirty products. Because then after I did my bio break, you want to carry in, carry out everything. And it's always a struggle. Like, where do I put my used products? Like, I don't want to put next to my food or my clean clothes. So then the rest of the trip, we kind of just started talking about like weird, like surely there must be a product. And when we got home, we started researching and there was nothing on the market. Like there were blogs about, like duct taping a plastic bag, taking a Sharpie and coloring a plastic bag, which I have done. So we were like, you know what? Let's try to create a more sustainable solution and efficient, because I'm not going to spend an hour coloring a plastic bag.
Yeah, the Sharpie on the plastic bag is wild to me. I don't know if I've ever heard that or seen that, but I think I ran into similar issues. I um was trying to find a couple of years ago something similar to your guys' product. I haven't personally used yours because I bought these, I think, before you guys were created. But I use the like wet bags for diapers, like the reusable ones, because those were really the only thing I could think of that was like, what won't be gross and not visible, And so it's cool that there's something like specific to the outdoor industry now that, because I don't know, it took me a long time to figure out that those would even work. And so I don't know, it would be nice if consumers just had an option outright instead of having to do all that back end research. Okay. So,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So we just created a bag and essentially has an outside pocket where you can keep all your clean products, and then an inside pocket where you put all your dirty stuff. So it's kind of like an all-in-one. You don't have to have like a clean bag versus a dirty bag. And then you just roll it up and put it wherever you want in your pack. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, I am curious about the product design before we get into some of the other topics. And how were you guys able to make it so it wasn't like leak proof, and what is it made out of? Is it machine washable? All those good questions.
Yeah, so we started researching and we decided to go with a plant-based product. So it's almost 90% corn-based, and it has a Ziploc, and we decided to make it a little bit thicker than an ordinary Ziploc bag. So I think its dimensions are 7 by 9. And like Becca said, it's nice because it has that outside pocket for all your clean supplies. And we made it long enough where a tampon can fit horizontally. So when you roll it up, it makes a nice little package and it fits perfectly in there.
Yeah. And we did a lot of like smell tests when we first got the product to see, like, to make sure, and leak tests on our own. I think our other family members thought we were crazy. We had them like all in the backyard on sticks. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. And it's really, it's not just for people who menstruate. It's also for, because I don't menstruate anymore, but I use it all the time for my toilet paper, my wipes, any type of hygiene products, that you're going to use, and then for the waste of those products. So, it's a gender equal product. Everyone, that wants to really do leave no trace for the hygiene. Or sometimes like if you have a bio break and then you're also are having like a granola bar, I'll throw my granola bar, wrapper in there too.
Yeah, kind of like a little trash can for you to carry around. And are they reusable or are they single use? So like you put your trash in there and then you throw the whole thing away, or do you empty it out and then you can reuse the bag?
I think it really depends how sustainable you want to be. You can reuse them. I wouldn't wash them, but you could in like the dishwasher, but you can definitely rinse them out in the sink and then let them dry again and reuse them. But it's kind of up to you.
Also depends on what you put in there, I think.
Yeah.
If it's just wipes probably, or like the wrappers, I think it all depends on what exactly in there, what kind of used toilet paper is in there and what your comfort level is.
Yeah, your comfort level cleaning those types of things, that definitely is a consideration. Adventuring plans on your calendar? Remember to grab your Lava Linens travel towel on your way out the door. Founded by a mother-daughter team, Lava Linens crafts durable, luxurious travel towels as a more sustainable and better performing alternative to microfiber and cotton towels. Powered by flax, hemp, and Tencel, they're designed to be by your side for years to come. Use the code Outdoor Minimalist for 15% off your next order. Okay, so kind of transitioning into general hygiene in the outdoors, and this could be any level of outdoors, but I guess primarily backcountry. So there are a lot of stigmas around periods and menstruating. I know that a lot of people aren't necessarily comfortable talking about it, but do you mind overviewing what some of those stigmas might be regarding periods, whether they're coming from any of the genders?
Yeah. Well, just to kind of back up a little bit. So when we started this product, our focus and mission was really around leave no trace. But then as we, started talking to more people, especially women, it really became evident to us that there was not a lot of discussion around menstruating in the outdoors, and there was not a lot of openness or even education, because we don't really know why. Maybe people, it's the stigma, people are uncomfortable talking about it. So that's also like now become our dual mission, is through education and talking about it, just trying to normalize the conversation, get people to feel comfortable, educate people, and really empower people that menstruate to feel comfortable and not having it a barrier.
Yeah, and Healthy Women did a recent study, and they came up and found some crazy statistics. And some of them were like 73% of women hide their menstrual products. 53% of women avoid any outdoor activity when they're on their period, which is crazy if you think about it. That's over half. And then another one that I thought was really sad was 42% of women have been shamed for their period. So that kind of goes along with the stigma. And it's, yeah, I don't fully understand why, because in my eyes, I think it's like a beautiful natural thing that we should be celebrating. But for some reason, there is this stigma, and yeah, I don't know.
And then there's, of course, the myth. Do you want to talk about the myth a little bit about the grizzly?
Oh my gosh.
The
Yes.
myth of the grizzlies.
So about I think it's probably almost over 50 years ago, they call it the Night of the Grizzlies, and two women backpackers were backpacking in a national state park out west. They were not backpacking together, but on the same night, two grizzlies attacked them and unfortunately killed them. And one of the women was on her period. So once that got out, this whole myth about how bears were attracted to menstrual blood took off. And since then, there has been a lot of research and a lot of studies by environmentalists, and they have found no correlation between that. So to clarify, it is a myth. So you do not have to worry.
Yeah, that one is really strange to me. I have always heard of Night of the Grizzlies, and I actually never knew that one of them was on their period, or that that's where that myth originated. That's so interesting how media can kind of influence those thought processes. And so if we're thinking about some of those stigmas and myths or beliefs that people may have about having a period, or at any time really, but especially in the outdoors, are there ways that we can hopefully normalize some of these conversations, or can your product help influence those things to any capacity?
Well, I think education is key, and when people feel educated, they feel empowered because they know and they feel comfortable. So that's what we're hoping in our small way with our company, and the things that we try to do through either educating groups around leave no trace, or through social media, that we can help destigmatize some of those fears. And yeah, so that's just part of our mission.
And we've actually started working with a lot of girl summer camps, which has been great, because I think if we start talking about it early or on in their age, then that will kind of take the stigma away. Because I remember when I was backpacking when I was younger, especially with a group of guys, I was always worried a tampon was going to fall out, or that they would see a tampon. I would hide it at all costs, like put it in my socks and then in my pack, just because I was afraid they were gonna make a comment or something.
Yeah, are there any specific, I guess, like conversation pieces or things that you have learned through your education on this topic that would be helpful?
I think it's just the best thing if you want to start doing more outdoor activities on your period is to do some research, because there are a lot of different products to choose from now. Like they have menstrual underwear, the cups, tampons, pads, free flow, and kind of just like kind of reading about which one would work best for your body and what one would make you feel more comfortable. There's not one product that's better than the other. It's kind of just making sure to always follow the leave no trace principles and then choosing whatever product works for you.
Yeah, and do you mind overviewing what the leave no trace principles are for menstruation products?
Yeah, sure. So there's for your listeners that aren't familiar with Leave No Trace, they are principles and guidelines that really help people that are in the outdoors on how to be and recreate in the outdoors and really leave no trace or leave the, minimize your environmental footprint. So when it comes to the hygiene piece, they've done a really great job in outlining what you should do and how you can do it in the best way. So it really covers, the three P's: pee, poop, and period. And their guidelines, it's, well, you really want to always carry in and carry out all of your period products. You would never want to bury your tampons. One, because it's bad for the environment. Some tampons still have PFAS and plastics in it, so you wouldn't want them to seep out into the soil. It's not sanitary, and it's also not good for the wildlife because they might be curious, or they might dig it up or eat it or whatever. So you always want to carry in and carry out all of your hygiene supplies. That includes toilet paper. Um, Leave No Trace also says that if you want to bury your waste, both poop, and if you use a menstrual cup, if you need to also bury your menstrual fluid, you always want to dig a cat hole 6 to 8 inches deep, and you want to be 200 yards, which is 70 big steps away from a trail, from your campsite, or a water source. So those are some of the basic guidelines. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I think regarding periods, those are like the two biggest things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I was also curious about your product, and I know that you mentioned the period underwear. And so if people are relying on those while they're hiking or camping, would the Your Yuckies be a good option for putting dirty period underwear in?
No, absolutely. Yeah, because they're definitely thicker than a regular Ziploc, so you're not going to be able to smell um, your underwear through the bag. So
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, when they do use period underwear, if you're on a long hike, they usually have 2 pair. So you can rinse out one away from a water source, 70 large steps, but you could rinse them out and then have 1 pair drying and then use the other pair. And hopefully 1 pair will dry overnight, or you can throw it on your pack on a carabiner or a hook or whatever. And that way you can kind of like rotate usage. But a lot of people have found that that's a method that works well for them.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Awesome. If you've enjoyed listening to this interview and any of our other interviews on the Outdoor Minimalist podcast, we'd love to hear from you. One super easy and free way to support our content is by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. We thank you for listening to and supporting our work so that together we can create a better outdoor space as we recreate. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to add regarding Your Yuckies or periods, hygiene in the outdoors?
I think Leave No Trace, their education is really like the perfect recipe. It kind of gives you really, really good step-by-step guidelines to follow. And I think now it's just a matter of, getting that education out there, and being able to like communicate it broadly so people feel comfortable, on handling their hygiene needs in the outdoors.
Absolutely. And how can listeners learn more about you guys, your brand story, and check out your product at Your Yuckies?
You can find us on our website at youryuckies.com, or we're also on Instagram where it's your_yuckies. And Yuckies is a YUCKIES.
Perfect. I'll be sure to share that in the show notes so it's easy to find. But with that, thank you, Dani and Becca, for taking the time to talk all things menses.
No, thank you. We're happy to share.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Meg. This was great.
Thanks for listening. And if you like what you hear, let me know. Leave a review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Instagram at outdoor.minimalist.book, on YouTube, or subscribe to our weekly newsletter at theoutdoorminimalist.com. For even more updates, other educational resources, and to help build an outdoor community with the shared goal to create a better outdoor space as we recreate.